member of the band Stretcher. Thanks for coming by.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
Really good. How was your Sunday fun day?
I went up, hiked. I live in an area where there's a lot of hiking trails. So I did a few miles this morning early, and good weather for it. And I hit the shower, and here we are.
That's good you showered. Thank you for
Yeah.
showering for me, even though it's virtual.
I figured it was the least I could do.
What's behind you? Have you been to Africa? What is this mask?
No, I'm in our jam room. So there's guitars. There's the mandatory Motorhead poster and some gear, amps and so
To
forth.
bow down to Lemmy or you're in trouble. Yeah.
Who would win? Lemmy or God?
Lemmy is God, and I love the statue at the rainbow. Gotta always, put a lit cigarette in his mouth.
They did one in Great Britain on Stoke-on-Trent that looks really good.
I saw that.
Yeah, that one's sick. Yeah,
that's. I can only get a plane flight over there right now.
You can, and you will. You'll go visit.
Yeah. So okay, Information Overdose is out now, and I like the guy strapped down to the chair music video, and he's being fed all of this stuff. So is that the kind of theme going on here? Do you think we have access to maybe too much information?
100%. There's too many Steph Rock shows coming at us all at once.
Yes.
Yeah. I get it. We have a friend who's a talented artist named Brome Campbell, and he took the idea and ran with it. We were kind of thinking like a Clockwork Orange, Alexander DeLarge type situation, and it came out pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I dig it. And so, okay, Chosen One, are there things do you think that we shouldn't have access to and see, or do you think it's good now that we're having conspiracy theorists out, more and more podcasts and ideas, or do you think it can be harmful?
I think it can be harmful in the fact that most people aren't doing peer-reviewed studies on these things. They're watching a 5-minute video and running off as it's gospel, and there's a lot of incorrect information out there. And if you're not someone who really goes down the rabbit hole and kind of tests things out, test theories out, or has the ability to do that, you may be running off kind of half-cocked with ideas and information. And I think there are very, very smart people that want us running around not knowing what to believe. So
there's confusion out there. Yeah. You got to fact check everything you watch and do down the rabbit holes. Okay. And then so Stretcher, I'm really into going to Medieval Times, the dinner, and the show. And I think Medieval Times Stretcher, where you can visit the dungeon and you get stretched out. But what does Stretcher mean for you guys?
Stretcher, I'll have to go back a little bit. The two members of this band that were founding members of Stretcher, Tom Stewart and Joe McGowan, the drums and bass respectively, they were in a band called Belligerent. They've known each other since, growing up. And Belligerent used to play San Diego quite a bit, but they started having so many fights break out at their shows in the pit and with the people that were going to them that they weren't able to book Belligerent anymore. So they came up with the name Stretcher, and the kind of the tagline was like, if you don't get carried out on a stretcher, you haven't been to a Stretcher show. So
I like it.
Yeah, they took on a new singer. My friend Mario Israel was the original singer for Stretcher, and they did quite a bit of touring and shows here on the West Coast, and did Milwaukee Metal Fests. And my band at the time, Mower, used to play with them quite a lot. We threw a lot of really successful shows in San Diego, and so they've been friends for ages.
Has anyone been taken out on a stretcher since you've joined the band?
I haven't seen anyone taken out on a stretcher. The two of us have a litany of injuries that have occurred at our shows and incidents that have occurred. So it is, I'm sure it's inevitable at some point, but people, I think at this stage of the game, people are pretty respectful in the pit and help people up. I don't know. There was like a thread between some of the local bands just discussing crowd killer, people that go in mosh pits and just beat everybody up, and kind of how it's a buzzkill.
Yeah.
That exists, but I think on the average, people are pretty respectful in the pit. They're looking out for each other in the metal scene.
I agree. And last time I tried to enter a mosh pit last winter at Under Oath, everyone screamed, "There's a girl! Stop! There's a girl!" And like everybody just stopped, and I was like, "No, I've been drinking.
I want to rock." Yeah.
I wanted to get and then so nobody pushed me, and I was like, so then I crowd surfed, and that at least got my little high of the show, But
I like crowd surfing. The first Lollapalooza I was and still am a big Jane's Addiction fan. And when they played, I was on top of shoulders for like the entire set. It was the best viewpoint. I was 8 feet tall for all intents and purposes, and very cool. Stanhope, New Jersey.
I'm bummed Jane's Addiction can't get along. They just...
Yeah, I saw them about a week and a half or 2 weeks before. They played San Diego at the baseball stadium here, and I saw them with Love and Rockets, and yeah, they didn't last much longer after that.
It's wild. There's a very alpha main character people in a band together. It's hard for powerful personalities to work together. They clash.
Yeah, I think there might be more behind the scenes in that situation, but
drugs too don't help people getting along. I'm just saying.
Drugs, alcohol, egos, it's a recipe for disaster.
Banging each other's girlfriend or wife. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons bands have had problems.
Absolutely.
So, okay, you guys are in San Diego. What do you think between these two places is a better metal scene, San Diego or LA?
I think they've got equal parts of fans. LA is an enormous city with tons of little microcosms. I mean, you can find a punk scene there, you can find a goth scene. So there's no shortage of metal up there. And San Diego we have our pockets as well that are kind of metal centric and clubs that are metal centric. So I think they're both kind of rival each other for being able to find good music. Well, this is kind of my re-entry into the San Diego music scene, and there are some of the bands that I used to play with the Mower are still active and doing really well. And then there's a new crop of musicians that are pretty tight knit. I like the vibe. They've been cool to me, but I'm kind of grandfathered in. Even to this day, my old band kind of looms large here, and Stretcher did really well. So we've kind of got a little bit of, it's our respect to lose at this point. And if we're cool, I think we're doing really well with the new friends we're making.
It's a good part about being cool and getting older is like, you're like, dude, I've been doing this for a while, so you got to let me through or give me a headline spot. Like, I'm in the game for a second.
Well, I just had this conversation with somebody last night when towards the end of Mower's run, we had a roadie that came out with us, and he'd been in big bands, and he had been out touring and had been out teching, and he kind of watched us after the first week, and he's like, when you guys go to a town, you just run through and everybody picks up a girl and you're just like kind of party animal thing. He's like, you need to be going and talking to the dudes in the local bands and not worrying about going and trying to, because if you're doing that, you're pissing off the guy whose girlfriend that you take to the van or the bus or the hotel. They're not happy with you. You're not giving anyone like your attention. They're not able to come and kind of hang out because you're off running in 5 different directions. So it was really good advice. A little late. Christian Roden, if you're out there, nice try. Thanks for trying to help. We were beyond beyond help at that time.
Sometimes it's good to network. Yeah, the older I get, it's like, or it's not just great to know the band, it's good to know the manager, the PR agent, or the band attorney. And then I've networked with all those people years ago, and then they'll have about 10 to 15 bands. So that's the person that I now look for because they're going to have access to a lot more people to come by.
I'm from the East Coast originally, and I have a motor mouth when you get me going, and I've got stories, but I'm trying to kind of listen a little bit more and let people tell me their story before I barge in with anecdotes and road stories and war stories and complaints and all that stuff. So just trying to hear people out.
Yeah, no, I could take some side dips for a while or something, or I'll forget something happened, and then I'll be watching TV or YouTube, and I'll see a commercial or a show or a music video, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have this story, and my friends are like, what? And I'm like, it was a long time ago. I was in LA a lot. So what brought you to San Diego?
I was actually headed out to LA when I first came out here. I came out here in the very early 90s, and I had friends that lived in San Diego, so the idea was to land here and then go up and find a spot in LA. But I love LA for maybe 72 hours, and then it's not really for me. So I gravitated back here. It's more of a beach community. It's a different vibe. No slight on LA. I have a love-hate relationship with LA just because it is intense, but there are a lot of people that are on the grift up there, and definitely a lot of people that see creative people and want a piece of it. So It is.
LA is a love-hate, you know? Like, I think I got enough of it and I left it, and then I've been gone now for a long time, for 9 years, and I'm just starting to miss it, and I'm going back down every couple months, and I feel like it's fun to visit now, and I realize, like, what I like about it, but I don't think I could ever live there again 'cause it's intense. There's a lot of people where you don't know if they're trying to get something out of you or if they really wanna be your friend. It's a sharp place.
Very difficult to peel away the layers and see who somebody really is. Everybody that you talk to, it's like it's less of a conversation than it is a promotional clip for whatever their project
Yeah.
or idea or new single or new movie. It's like you're hardly hearing anything about them. You're hearing about what they're trying to get off the ground, you know. And the
Yeah.
old adage is every waiter's got a script in his pocket, and it's true, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know. There are a lot of success stories born out of that, but I think, especially at this stage of the game, I just kind of want to see where people are really coming from, as opposed to what they want or what they can offer or what the elevator pitch is, you know.
Yeah, yeah, like, "What do you want from me?" Right when I talk to them, it's like,
Yeah,
"What's the game?"
exactly.
Um, so what's going on with Stretcher right now? Like, what's any the new news are coming up for the rest of the year?
So we have been real fortunate with the people that we involved making the record and the people that are helping us get the word out about it. Eddie Walt did the production and mixing on the EP for the 6 tracks. We worked with Eric Emery, who did Periphery, worked with Periphery, and he did our drums. We worked with Eddie Razor, who's a member of Pissing Razors. He did some drum tracks as well, and then Maor Applebaum mastered it. And then from there, we self-released it through one of the publishing website companies, and we had Skateboard Marketing, Muncie, hello, how are you? Out of the East Coast, working it too. We went with College and Specialty because we're not swinging a big record label budget, so we went to College and Specialty, and it's done pretty well. They have Muncie and a couple other industry insiders curate a top 50 uh, metal album list, and we've been hanging tough in there. We're like 14 out of 50, and the one thing that impresses me is that out of all the 50, we're the only independent. Everybody else is on a Metal Blade or Century Media or maybe.
Wow.
So we're in good company. And what does that translate into? It's been more streams. I mean, we've just got a handful of people that have discovered the Spotify page. So if I'm going to push anything, be like, hey, go follow us on Spotify. But it's been good. The reaction's been good. I've been really fortunate. Skateboard was able to set up some interviews with me, so I've been doing podcasts and just doing what we're doing right now, just chatting with people and getting the word out.
That's what you gotta do, and, I've been talking to more and more bands in this last year. It's becoming so common to be independent or even just working by themselves because of social media. It is a double-edged sword, right? It can be bad for us and good for us. Good that we can be our own public relations agent in hashtags and getting on all the sites, but then I don't it's like when I first got in the game almost 21 years ago, you had to be signed to a label. You had to have
Yeah,
representation.
the dynamics changed. I mean, now I
Yeah.
spoke with some labels when we were getting ready to release this record, and it's you're paying them to basically, there are advantages to label. They buy in bulk as far as promotion, so they've got relationships. They know who they can slide things to that are going to like your type of music or whatnot. But there's a price to pay for it, and it's an ongoing price. I mean, I looked at what these labels would offer as far as what they would do for us, whether it was playlist promotion, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, we can pay for that one time and take a whack at it. And we're probably not going to do as well as a label would do, but there's no strings attached, and there's no, um, you know, I was on a label. It was an experience that was good and bad in that we were on a label that wasn't primarily a metal label, but they were good enough to sign us, and they were good enough to have faith in us and put things out. So there's no love lost there on my account. Um, Sometimes they just don't line up in a perfect match. So you can cry about it, or you just get on with your life. I mean, the two guys here have been dormant for a long time, since Stretcher originally disbanded. So they're just full of energy and enthusiasm to be putting out music, and we have a really good sonic batch of songs there that sound great, and I think they're pretty well written. After all these years of making mistakes and learning, I think we have some good stuff out there. So hopefully people agree.
Yeah, I checked out the YouTube channel, really high quality sound. I like it.
Cool.
Sometimes though it's not just talent, it is right place, right time, who you know. That's unfortunately like being in the industry for so long, I've seen some bands are just okay and they just get on the right stage and there's some guy in the audience that has a lot of money and he's like,
Sure.
"Yeah, I want them." And it's just like, wow, I wish it was, some advice I could give that was just here's the road to victory and how you make it. But I've just seen so many, or I will say a lot of these bands that become very popular fast, someone in the band was in a larger project prior. So they either had money to dive into it or connections already. Cause I'm like, wait, where did this band just come out of fucking thin air? And they're on the main stage. But it's like, oh, that's, Jason Hook that was in Five Fingers, new, Fat Black, or
Sure.
E6 drummers just started Dead Posey. And so these people have been in the game for.
Yeah, but they paid their dues, so it's worth a listen. And obviously, if they got to the level of a Five Finger Death Punch or another band like that, then they're quality musicians, and you should probably check out what they're doing if you like their old stuff. I mean, some
Yeah.
of it at the crux of it all is if you write a song that is incredible, it's going to find its way out there.
Yeah.
I always say if I wrote the next Stairway to Heaven tomorrow, you hear it, it would find its way to you. I haven't
Yeah.
written the next Stairway to Heaven yet, but but we're trying.
It'll happen.
Yeah, maybe.
Or if you guys bang enough chicks, the right groupies will get the word out and do free PR for you.
Yeah, well, that can backfire too.
Yeah, or they could be crazy and
That
then
can
shut you
backfire.
down. So you
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah. Okay. Can we do fun, random, this or that? So I'll say, would you pick this or that?
We can do whatever you want.
Okay. Don't say that. Okay.
I've watched a couple of your videos already. I
You know,
kind of know where
I'm
you are.
crazy.
I see
I
where
like
they
to
go.
ask wild questions. I don't
I
like
watched you.
boring.
I watched you interview my friends in Cascade Effect, and it was a pretty funny interview.
Oh yeah, they were really fun. They were really, yeah.
Dude,
That was a fun band.
we were at an event last night. We went to a show here in town with most of the metal scene was there. It was good hang with those
I
guys.
wish I knew. I was just in San Diego for
Oh
like
yeah,
4 days in October, and now I'm flying to DC this week. But
nice.
I swear I like remember or interview bands right after I leave that area, and I'm like, oh man, But it
Yeah,
was,
you got to interview him before, and then go get the tour of the town.
yeah, I
We,
know.
we know all the dirty hallways and back doors to take you through.
I know. I did go to House of Blues. I liked that.
Cool.
And then just walked around, what is that called? The hot
Gas,
spot in San Diego.
gas lamp quarter.
Gas Lamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. A lot of hot chicks. There's a lot of young, hot
A
women.
lot of in shape, athletic people in San
Yeah.
Diego. That is one of the perks of having sunshine year round. People are out and they know
I
it.
like being in Sacramento because everyone's kind of ugly, so I look hotter. I don't like San Diego. I'm like, damn, I'm like
my
at San Diego 4, Sacramento 6.
my former bandmate Dominic Moscatello is up in Sacramento right now. He's almost an attorney. He'll be taking the bar this year. He is a true rock
Nice.
star. Yeah, I went up to
At
see him.
McGeorge School of Law, or do you know if
That's
he's
exactly where he's at. How'd you know?
Well, my grandfather was an attorney and a judge and owns a law firm, and he taught at McGeorge School of Law and went to
Very
Berkeley,
cool.
though. So yeah, so I grew up in a political family.
I went to a class with him. He asked his professor if I could sit in. I was there for a couple hours watching them. We were learning about LLC law and corporations. It was interesting stuff.
You'll need that in music, And if you ever need a metal attorney, Eric German, he's my homie forever, and he's the best. He's got Ice Nine Kills and a lot of big names. So if you need a LLC or someone to even look over something, Eric is, and he'll party with. That's what I love. He's not just professional, and he's one of the best, and but he will rage harder than the rock stars.
All right.
That's the attorney you need.
We're fortunate in this band to have access to a few attorneys. So I don't. The funny thing about attorneys is the labels all have them on retainer too. So it's just a matter of, do you want to have the two attorneys get rich trying to sort something out, or can you
Google it or chat GPT, because it's a lot of money to get advice.
Chat GPT is a liar.
Yeah, I haven't used it.
It'll answer everything in the affirmative, and I'll ask you questions I know the answer to, and it'll just lie to my face, and I'm like, well, no, that's incorrect, and then it'll go, oh yeah, you're right. So it's like you can't really trust that information without fact checking that either.
Yeah. I don't even want to jump into it. I like real people and real connection, or even picking up a book still. I'm not an AI fan.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, we'll get back to this. Okay, so would you choose to use condoms or trust a girl that says she has an IUD?
Condoms.
Okay, damn, that's safe. Okay, Star Wars or Harry Potter?
Star Wars. Not even a question. I didn't mind the Lord of the Rings, but I was probably aged past Harry Potter when it really hit stride, and I'm not a wizardy, nerdy type of fan. So
I'm wizardy and nerdy, but I too was too old, so I never watched Harry Potter because I think
yeah.
I missed the boat.
I gave it a try. I mean, if it's a phenomenon, I want to know what it's about, but it did not click with me.
Yeah, if there was a young guy that was really into Harry Potter, I would let him put it on to get laid in my house. So I would give it a try for that, but not hasn't happened.
I think I'm at an age where I would not tolerate that right now. I'd rather I probably wouldn't endure that. Maybe when I was younger, I would do anything, but I don't think you would catch me sitting through that.
I am on the cusp. I swear. I've not been able to let them spend the night recently, and this isn't me.
Yeah.
I like them to spend the night. I like to cuddle. I'm just that kind of person. In the last couple of months,
Softy.
I am, but I want them to go now because they're annoying or they're still awake past like 9 p.m. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to go to sleep. So I'm very picky. I think the older we get set in our ways and we have our house with our stuff, and our quiet time. And it's going to take a lot for me to move somebody in the house again.
I can say that I'm very comfortable on my own. So I'm happy. I'm good company, I think. So I don't
really. That's scary though. I like myself too, and I'm good company. And I don't want to talk the voices in my head all day. Like I need somebody eventually, but right now I'm really happy.
When I'm reading a book, I don't need anyone there to help me with that. You know what I mean? I'd rather have the solitude, but I still like people. I have not given up on people, despite what I've seen and experienced. I still think people are great. So.
Me too. Yeah.
Everyone starts with 100 points. Let's put it that way. And then I start deducting after that.
They're innocent till proven guilty.
There you go.
When you meet them. Yeah. Okay. Do you like dogs or cats better?
I like them, I would say, equally. I got a cat sitting over here. He's out of frame right now, and he decided to nap. But I'm actually surprised. I figured he would be all up in my business, but maybe he'll wake up before this is over. Gary, the studio manager.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah, I have a cat too, and she'll come on. She likes how warm the laptop is, so she'll try to sit on it sometimes, and I'm like, no.
Cats are great if you want to get away for a few days. They'll survive. Dogs are cool when you're there, but if you've got to exit, they are a lot more work.
Yeah.
We've got 2 dogs too.
I like cats better. I grew up with a lot of dogs and stuff, but there's just too much work.
Well, dogs are kind of like your super fans. Everything you do is great. Cats are only going to get down with you if they like you. They're not. Yeah. They won't suffer you lightly.
And they'll keep it real. Yeah. Sure. Okay. What would you choose between whiskey or tequila?
I would probably go bourbon, but I do like tequila. When I grew up, tequila was limited to like Jose Cuervo's and some really rotten stuff. So it took me probably until I got out to San Diego to really start giving it a second chance, because the tequila now is delicious and smooth and sweet, and it's nothing like my first experiences with it. But I'm of Irish descent, and we fancy whiskey, and I've had the pleasure of hitting a lot of distilleries, and I'm definitely a fan. I haven't drank. I'm trying not to drink as much. I just pick my spots. So I think my drinking days, I wouldn't say they're behind me, but they are fewer and further between.
I feel that. I'm Irish too, and I like whiskey, Jameson and Jack Daniels. But I party usually if there's an event, right? If there's a band or there's something going on, I'll go out and drink.
There's always an event. There's always something.
There is, but I can't go out as much as I used to. So that's kind of good that
I've been out quite a lot. You could if you wanted to. I'll tell you what, going out and not drinking, I've never liked it. And it's funny, ironically, I'm a pretty boisterous drinker myself, putting it to sugarcoat it. And I couldn't handle myself if I was sober and I rolled up and tried to have a conversation. It's a lot. And then, touring sober was always a real chore, because you want to, people are happy and they want to talk to you about your band, and they think you're great, or they thought the show was great, etc. But they're just hammered and drooling all over you, and shoulder pumping and hugging and all that stuff. And it's like you want fans and you want friends, but there's also kind of a personal space that just goes out the window when people are hammered at shows. So it's a little
All
unbearable.
drunk people are annoying for sure, you know. And then
I'm loud enough just sitting here chatting with you, and I go up, I go to 11 when it comes to volume. So
me too.
I'm paying off my karma for the discrepancies of my youth, I guess.
Yeah, no, and I'll be like fighting somebody, and it's not even my fight. It's like somebody else's. I'm too crazy sober, so I don't need alcohol to come out of my shell. But it lowers the anxiety. I notice I'll get a little bit of a social anxiety in my midlife. So if I have a couple drinks, I'm not. I don't
you
know.
and everybody else.
Yeah, more relaxed.
A lot of babies made on whiskey, that's for sure.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, would you rather go to a topless strip club or a full nude strip club?
I think topless.
Keep the panties on.
Yeah, I mean, leave a little something to be discovered, and I just think the vibe is different. It's kind of, I don't know, a little creepy, just kind of standing watching people kind of sashay around without clothes. I don't know. That's another thing. If we're out with the right crew of fun people, either one of them could be fun.
Yeah.
We
Depends
used
how much you're drinking.
Yeah, that helps. There was and is a band called Sprung Monkey out of San Diego here. They just played Friday night, and I went out and saw them, and they're still killing it. And they had a couple ringleaders that had what they call Big Wednesday, and all of the bands in town. Well, it's like a clique of bands, but we got kind of inducted and accepted into that group. So every Wednesday we would hit all these different clubs, and we'd go out and play dice, and it was actually really good times. There was like the Unwritten Law guys and the Stretcher guys, and a real crew, like 40, 50 people rolling into a dive bar and just taking over the whole vibe. It was a lot of fun. A good time.
Have you guys ever played on stage at a strip club?
Yes. Multiple times.
Because I know Crazy Girls in LA, they used to have, I think it was Wednesday. So that's what I thought you were going to say, where Wednesday nights they had bands perform on stage and the strippers were walking and performing with the band. And I thought that was such a neat mix.
I know we shot one video that we never used at a strip club. We played there's a Pure Platinum here in town that we played multiple times, and those were actually pretty good. They brought in a good sound system and a stage, and it was like a concert vibe, and then kind of, with people walking around trying to sell dances and that type of stuff. So it was fun. Can be done.
Yeah. Okay. Would you choose new metal or 80s hair metal?
You cut out. The question is new metal or hair metal?
New metal or 80s hair metal?
I would probably go 80s hair metal because a couple of my favorite bands are 80s hair metal, or at least in that time period, not necessarily hair metal, but kind of. Well, one of my favorite bands is Hanoi Rocks, and they don't want to be blamed for 80s hair metal, but they did kind of spark the look of it and a lot of the vibe of it. And then Guns N' Roses was a big band for me coming out of the gate. I kind of got into them early before it became what it became, is like this global thing. But I would say, I mean, I'm my favorite band's the Rolling Stones, so I'm coming from like, that's kind of the next iteration with a little bit more makeup than the Stones necessarily. So I would probably say 80s hair metal, but it's a close race. There's some great new metal bands as well, and they're all coming out of the woodwork now. Snot's back. I just texted Bobby from Primer 55 this morning. They're back. They just announced they're going to be touring, and I think they're going to be recording according to what I got out of the text with him. So there's a resurgence in that. I mean, Moore was in that circle, but we had a lot more punk than a lot of the. We had a very big punk influence and kind of older metal, Maiden and that type of stuff. So we weren't necessarily the junk wah, junk wah. It wasn't so much of that, but we were those. That's a circle we ran in. We're touring with all those guys, so it's good to see them still out and performing and making people happy.
I dig the Rolling Stones and Guns N' Roses. Also love WASP. That's like one of the Blackie Lawless is so legit.
There's a chorus in one of the new songs that's slated for the next EP, and it's kind of got a WASP feel to it, and it came out of nowhere, but we were all like, yeah, that's cool. So yeah, I'm a big WASP fan.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Brian, thank you so much for stopping by Stefs Rock Show. And if there's anything else you want to plug or share, let us know, and I'll tag the band so everyone can find Stretcher.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we're at stretcher.music. We're on Spotify if you check that out, and YouTube, and I think our handle at most of the socials is at Stretcher Music. And just hello to Sleeping Faceless from San Diego and Cascade Effect and Desponders and the Provoked and Fractures and all our friends here that I don't have time to name them all, but there's a good little scene going here. Get out there and go to a show and